Okay, so here's just another quick tour around Lightroom. Now, getting photos into Lightroom is a little bit um, different. You want to click this import button and give it a second. I have my folder saved up here, but ordinarily you would, those pictures of my hand, I do that to test light. Um, Scroll down to your picture, your folder here, or add a network there. Um, so I've imported the same picture that we were um, looking at in the elements video. So now I'm just going to click this develop button. Um, if you wanted to have an import, what am I trying to say? A preset for imports. If you want to apply the same preset to every picture that's imported just to make it easier, you can do that right here. For the purposes of this video, I'm not going to do that. Give it a second. It's working. Okay, so here's the same portrait that we had in Elements. I think this is a couple stops underexposed, making it look a little bit flat. So I'm just going to take up the exposure. Over here on this side is where you'll find your editing panel, and over here is where you find your preset panel and your history panel. Okay. So first things first, I want to just take up the exposure here. Yeah, right about there. Get rid of some of this contrast and darken down the highlights just to bring in some more of this detail on her dress right here. Okay. The shadows are fine. The whites are fine, just to give you an idea what happens with that. Watch her dress right there on her arm. But I'm going to leave them right there. Blacks, here's what happens. Want that a little bit darker just to get some detail in. Again, vibrance is how much of a color is present, or how bright it is, rather. And get that to 0. And saturation is how much of the color is present. So you can desaturate. That's one way to turn it black and white. Go to 0. And then another way to turn it black and white is to change the treatment right here. What's really powerful about Photoshop, or I'm sorry, Lightroom, is this tone curve. So this is how you would affect, remember in Elements we saw those shadows, brightness, midtones. This handles that for you. So if you want that nice hazy look, you just clip this tone curve represents the darks, or the shadows and the highlights. So shadows are down here, highlights are up here. If you want to create that matte look, you can just clip your shadows. Oops. Right there. Get a little more. So you can just play around with that. I like that. In Elements, we were playing with some layers in the filter layers. You can do that here with your, you can split tone this a little bit. Give it a little more vintage feel. So I just selected kind of a golden here and kind of a blue to give it kind of a creative edit. I can get rid of that. I can always, the best part about this is I don't have to, in Elements, I either have to delete a bunch of layers or not, or open it back up. With Photoshop, I can just hit reset. And I can also do I can create a virtual copy, which doesn't create, there's not two files on my computer, but there are two files in Lightroom for me to play with. So if I wanted to turn this one black and white, um, I could do that. And I still have this one over here to play with. Um, no. Pick up here, brighten this up. Don't really like, I don't like that red. I'm going to take that. The other really great thing about Lightroom is that you can correct for um, any kind of little barreling in your lenses. Remember, lenses aren't flat, they're convex. So this Lightroom has profiles built in for different camera models and lenses, and most of the time it can guess um, what your lens is, which is what it did for me here. I can change how much distortion I want it to take out or put more in. Um, and how much vignetting the lens gets. So you really kind of have to know your stuff when you're messing around in Lightroom to understand what's happening. Um, there. Just go back. So do that. So this is something that I would do just for a clean edit. Might make this a little bit more matte. Take this back up. Probably don't want to split tone for a clean edit. If I wanted to add some grain to kind of give it that film effect, I could do that right there. Also add a vignette, which just draws the eye in and get a white vignette there. You can calibrate your camera, so every time you pull in a picture, look at your XIF data and decide what camera you shot it on if you want different effects for that. What else do I want to do? Did I turn this on? Yeah. Okay. You can. Lightroom also has these great graduated filters. Here's that red eye correction that we saw in Elements. Here's the healing brush. Let me click this. So we can just see what this does. Not that she has any blemishes, but if I wanted to just get rid of this right here, we can do that. Also, what I would do for ladies is just take down the clarity on their skin just a little bit, just to, we're all very sensitive about our skin, just to smooth it out just a little bit. And if I turn this on, you can see where I'm painting here. Now that red color doesn't show up on the picture, it's just so I can see what I'm doing. And then I can turn that back off. And you see her skin's just a little bit smoother. I can make it much smoother. What else? What else? Nope. There we go. So you can just kind of see the difference in her skin on this side and that side. Histogram might be something that you hear more or less about. As you dive further in, you can adjust the picture based on the histogram here, there. Oh, I'm sorry, I should have explained this. So this is the brush tool. And the brush tool has a lot of different, these are some brushes that I've created or bought. These are the ones that come with Lightroom just right out of the box. And they just do different things. What's happening over here in the regular panel is what's called global edit, so it affects the entire picture. What's happening here are local edits. So they just kind of let me take that down and show you. They just affect certain parts of the image. So I'm just changing the exposure just where I'm brushing. There. But I don't like that. So I'm just going to get rid of it. Okay. So that's how you basically just do a real clean edit or a more creative edit in Lightroom. Much, much simpler in my opinion than it is in Photoshop Elements. It's just quicker. You can also kind of batch these a little bit better if you were shooting pictures all in the same place at the same time. I'm just going to hit reset here and then we'll do a quick black and white. So like I said, you can turn this black and white there. Now, black and whites, there are different kinds of black and whites. So there is a black and white mix here. Oops. Down here. And the HSL color black and white mix. So you can change the values of your reds. Now his shirt, if you remember, was purple. So I can bring that up. They have a little bit of yellow in the wall back there. Not a whole lot of blue in the picture, so that's not going to really affect it. And then I can come back up here and just bring up the exposure. And then the tone curve, bring up these midtones, and then squash it. Oops. Squash it just a little bit. Just to kind of give it that hazy feel. Get the midtones. Okay. So there are just different values of black and white. And then over here, what we have are some presets that I purchased. I believe these came from Pretty Presets. This happens to be something that's a little bit more of a recipe. So you can just go through and pick different things. And if you notice, you can always see the preview over here. So this is just start with a quick clean, and then I want to make it purple, a little vintage purple. Get that in there. A hazy matte, and if you notice when I do, let me hit reset and let me open this tone curve. So when I'm clicking these presets, they're changing different values over here. So that quick clean, watch the exposure. It's just changing the exposure a little bit. And let me open this tone curve, and I'm just going to make this matte real fast. And you see that it's changing the tone curve. So that's basically what presets do. They just have a lot of different things saved in them. You can do them by yourself, or you can do them with a preset. But that is just a quick tour around Lightroom. As always, just let me know if you have any questions. I'll speak with you soon. Thanks.